And I know that we can certainly spend a lot more days for the pastors to be minister and all that, but we only have 2 days for the conference. Okay, so one day we focus on you, today we're going to focus on how to help you, to help others. Now, in order for us to help people, there's a need for us to know what's really going on in the society, what's really going on around us, especially when it comes to the subject of mental health. Because a little knowledge or no knowledge can be very dangerous. And that's why a lot of people are getting a lot of wrong advice or bad advice. And therefore, we need to have the right, sufficient knowledge so that we can be better equipped to help others. In Singapore, there is an organization that have been doing that for us for the many years, for the many decades. They've been studying the trend, they've been looking after the issues of mental health, particularly when it comes to the subject of suicide. They've been monitoring the suicide situation in Singapore and how they can follow through with people who survive suicide or the family members who survive suicide. They have done support group, they have cared for them, and they have also now doing things on the upper stream where they want to attend to the people who are thinking about suicide. I'm talking about SOS. I'd like us to now put our hands together and welcome Gasper, the CEO of SOS, to present to us the issues so that we can be better equipped to help others. Thanks, Gasper.
Thank you, Pastor Sandy. Good morning to all, brother and sister in Christ. It's a privilege to be here for the 3rd year. And I bring greetings from Samaritans of Singapore. My name is Gasper. At Samaritans of Singapore, or SOS, you are more familiar with, we offer confidential emotional support to individuals facing a crisis, thinking about or affected by suicide. Just a sidetrack. I'm always very proud, to share that our God is amazing, because this organization, SOS, was started by 2 reverends. Many of you may not know. One from Methodist and the other one from Anglican, some 55 years ago. Anyway, that's the story for another day. But today, SOS has evolved beyond our initial hotline, which we started, since day one, to full suite of prevention, intervention, and postvention program and services. Over the last 4 years, we have redefined the traditional idea of suicide prevention by embracing innovation, compassion, and communities. SOS continue to commit to provide a safe and uplifting space where individuals are empowered to heal, grow, and rediscover their inner resilience. So this morning, my sharing, I'll break into 3 parts. One, of course, is the suicide landscape in Singapore. And the second part will be some of the observation, that we've seen in SOS. And of course, the third part is like what Pastor Singli mentioned, right? How do we help to strengthen mental health support in churches? But because of the time limit, we don't have enough time to talk about a whole range of subjects. I will probably focus a little bit more on youth, right? A subject matter of youth. Okay, compared to 30 and 40 years ago, I think many of you are my age group. Youth today is facing a little bit more pressure in our society to be successful, right? So for every aspect of their lives, are exposed to constant comparison among peers and also expectation from parents. From academic pressure, social media pressure, family pressure, transition and future uncertainty, financial concern, to self-image, right? So if you can see from this slide, this is a chart that was taken from this finding by Institute of Policy Studies and the National Youth Council on Youth Transition and Pathway. It indicated that every 1 in 3 youth back in year 2021 were constantly in worrying mode. And the mental health crisis of the next generation has become an increasing and significant concern today. Therefore, I think it is important that we need to equip them with coping strategy and help them build mental resilience at young age so that they will be able to manage their future life challenges. Just last week, SOS had a press release on national suicide data, and I believe many of you may have read the news, and the number, as you may have known, were not very encouraging. Right? So last year, year 2022, Singapore recorded the highest suicide rate or suicide death since year 2000 at 476 deaths. Or if I translate it into daily, it's 1.3 lives were lost to suicide every day. It is a 25.9% higher or more than year 2021. Or in absolute cases, it's 98 cases more. How does this compare to our accident death in Singapore? You think it's higher or lower? Accident death has remained constant the last 2 years. 2021 and 22 is the same, at 368. And suicide death is 476, which is 29.3% higher. And if you look at different age group, right, it may be a bit small for us to look, but let me just quickly summarize. We do see an increase in every age group, right? But if you look at youth, 10 to 29, the bar chart goes up very fast, right? And very high. And we also see that from age 50 and above, the number remain at a constant high. So those 50 and above, we are at a high risk zone also. And back to the youth, suicide remain the leading cause of death for youth aged 10 to 29 for the 4th consecutive year. I repeat, suicide remain the leading cause of death for youth aged 10 to 29 for the 4th consecutive year. What do I mean by that? That means compared to all types of death, right? Accident, illnesses and all these things. Suicide still the highest leading cause of death for the youth. So you compare all type of death, suicide basically take up 33.3% of all types of death. And it's a big concern for the youth, right? So in my opinion, my personal opinion, this number may only be the tip of the iceberg. Why do I say that? There are many telltale signs, right, indicating mental health has become an increasing and significant concern today. You take a look at this finding from the second mental health study. In short, we call it SMHS. Initiated way back in 2016, and this was before COVID, right? And this survey was led by Institute of Mental Health in collaboration with Ministry of Health and Nanyang Technological University. And the survey covered an adult population of 3.4 million people from age 18 and above. And three key takeaways from this survey. Number one, 7.8% had thought of suicide. And that's, if you work it out, the number is about 242,000, right, adults. And 6.9% had lifetime suicide ideation. That's more than 23,000 1,000 adults. And 1 in 63 of the surveyed population attempted suicide in their lifetime. And that's about 50,000, right? 49,830. And in a more recent survey, that was in 2016, and that was the condition of 2016. In a more recent survey conducted by SMU in collaboration with SOS last year, we found that 8 in 10 persons that we surveyed associated suicide with stigma. And this is worrying. Why do I say that? This is worrying because this stigma will hinder help seeking. And we need to double up our efforts to destigmatize conversation around suicide. And the other outcome of that survey, we also found that only 15.6% of the population think suicide prevention support is effective. This is another worrying sign because a person with suicide ideation or attempts may not think of seeking help, right? Because it's not effective at all. So SOS launched Light in the Dark program. This is a suicide attempters support group program last year. It took us many, many months to, work out the process, make it a safe space. And today, we are into the 4th run of this program. And currently, we are opening up for sign-up. So you know someone who may have attempted suicide and may need to support, reach out to SOS, right? And for the last 3 runs, we have journeyed close to 20 people. We have equipped them with coping strategies and also creating a safe network of support for them. Right? And I think it is important that they were able to get each other to support. Right? And suicide prevention in Singapore, I think the needs of suicide prevention support in Singapore is underestimated. It requires much upstream and downstream efforts and measures. And this, I think we can do it together. And this is the part that I thought maybe I want to share a little bit, some of the insight observation from SOS. People from all walks of life call us, contact us, reach out to us for support. So I thought maybe it can represent some community kind of sensing for all of us. But before I share this, may I appeal to all of you not to take photo or video of this confidential data because this is SOS confidential data. But we will be publishing our annual report sometime in August, and those data will be available for public to see. Right? Thank you. Yeah, just a quick introduction before I go into the details. SOS services can be categorized into 3 clusters. Right? We do a lot of prevention work, intervention, and postvention. In the prevention work, we do a lot of training. Right? Be a Samaritan is a community program that equip people on the streets with simple skill to identify someone in distress or in crisis and how to engage them. It's very important, how to talk to them, how to engage them, and more importantly, how to refer them to resources. I mentioned a little bit about intervention. We do have care text and hotline, which is our important touch point. And also the Light in the Dark, right, which is a suicide attempters support group. In the postvention, actually, we do a lot of postvention work. Most often than not, when there is a suicide case happen, police will contact us so that our colleagues and volunteers, trained volunteers, will be able to go to the family and see how to support them. Right? And we do have healing bridge, healing within, and also we conduct International Survivor of Suicide Day, which is usually around November. And we invite the whole Singapore, anyone who may have lost someone to suicide, to come forward and create that network of support. Yeah. And last year, actually, 2 years ago, actually, we partnered with BBTC to convert one of the program we call Healing Within to Healing Grace. And that program, we do need a lot of pastors to come forward so that we can equip you, train you, and you can, it's a very simple program that you can also bring back to your communities, right, and to support those people who lost their loved one. And on our Lifeline, which consists of both hotline and text services, we continue to strengthen our 24 hours crisis support team to effectively support those at-risk individuals reaching out for help. And both our hotline and our care text, which is our text messaging service, saw an increase in suicide risk call and text last year. They just need someone to journey with them and hopefully persuade them not to take the action, right? And our active rescue, I mentioned, is supported by our professional staff. We have a 24 hours crisis support team now. And based on the 143 active cases based on the 143 active rescue cases last year that we did, we can actually divide out the numbers by 365 days or 12 months, then you can see that we actually have more than one rescue case every 72 hours. What are those presenting issues that frequently come out, when we engage the service user? For the youth, it's usually the relationship issues, especially with the family, actually, and inability to cope with the current crisis that they face, whether it's their study, whether it's catching up with the friends, living standards, peer pressure, and things like that. And for the adults, right, which is 30 to 59 years old, employment-related and financial issues are often cited. For the senior or the elderly, most common issues cited were medical problem. They don't want to burden their family. They have issues of relationship with their families, usually with the younger ones, or loneliness. Okay, there are a lot of statistics and data that bombarded onto your into your mind. You may be overwhelmed. Yesterday morning, I was very touched. We have a pastor sharing his personal journey as a caregiver to his daughter, right, who is diagnosed with depression and anxiety. Today, I thought I want to take this opportunity to share a survivor of suicide in a journey of grief and recovery. There is a story behind every life, and this is a story of Alicia. Alicia is a client of SOS. She lost her son to suicide. But before I play the video, I just want to highlight that this video may contain contents that may be triggering or traumatizing. So if you find that you are very uncomfortable, you may excuse yourself from the room. We have also counselors around. And if you want to speak to any of them, I think they are with red lanyard. Yeah. Okay? It's about 4 minutes.
My name is Alicia. I lost my son. His name is Paul. I saw him on the evening of 4th of June. Everything looks very normal. And after dinner, he texted me and said, "Mommy, I'm going out for a walk. I'm feeling a bit down." And I asked him, I said, "You'll be home, huh?" Then he said, "Yeah, I'll be home." That's the last time I saw him. The next moment was about 6 a.m. The police came to the door. That's where my heart dropped. I know that there is not something bad must have happened. So the police came in. They wanted to see his room. I saw a statement that Paul wrote on his whiteboard in his room. He says that, "I'm sorry I let everybody down." I asked the police officer, "Is my son still alive?" And she said no. And that's where I broke down. I screamed and I broke down. And my husband came in and hugged me. My helper and my son cried. We couldn't believe that Paul is really gone. I lost him by suicide. The first question I asked myself, where is Paul now? I need to know where is Paul now. Where is his soul now? Is he in heaven? Is he in hell? Is he being punished for what he has done? Will God accept him back to heaven? I struggle with this question, and I keep crying non-stop because I do not know. I do not know. I question myself a lot. I ask myself why I didn't see all the signs that he's at the verge of giving up. I ask myself, could I have done something to save him? Why didn't he come to me when he's leaving the house? Why he didn't reach out to me? Why? I ask a lot of why. What was he thinking, and did he even blame me that I'm not a good mother to him? Everything at home reminds me of him. The thought of me wanting to see Paul was so intense that I don't feel like living on anymore. It's like I could feel how Paul felt, the amount of pain that he just wanted to end it all. But when I look at my two other kids, I told myself, I can't bear to let them go through the same pain that I'm going through right now. I have to bear the pain and live on. My daughter Gloria, she has mild autistic and she's the closest to Paul because Paul is very patient with her. Occasionally she will come and tell me, "Koko, wake up, Koko, come home." Then I will tell her that Koko is sleeping in heaven. We will see him one day. So in her own special way, she misses her brother a lot. I decided to do a tattoo of Paul's name. I just wanted him to be close to me. I took some of his ashes and I did a pendant. And I chose a rainbow pendant because it's a rainbow promise that we will meet again. And I will wear it every day. It's like Paul is with me.
Oh, hey. Wow, look, what is this? Ta-da! Enlistment. Finally, enlistment.
A boy to man. Finally.
I'm very proud of Paul. I choose to remember all these 23 years of his life and not just focus on the last chapter of his life. I want to remember my son as a sunshine boy. Paul is a very extrovert guy. He has a lot of friends. He's always happy at the outside. He has a heart of helping people. By sharing Paul's story, I hope to tell other suicide survivors, especially moms like me, that they are not to be blamed for what happened to their child. We will just learn how to live with it. They will live forever in our hearts. I would want to tell the young people to reach out for help, love yourself more, and never think that you are a burden to the people around you. Hi, Papa. How are you? Mommy miss you a lot. Oh, thank you so much for being my son. I'm so proud of you. We will meet again, Paul. You just have to be there to wait for us to be united again. And we will join you when our time is up. Okay, Paul? Mommy miss you. Mommy miss you.
And that's story of, that's Alicia's story actually. Paul was diagnosed with adjustment disorder. And I think it's quite common for a lot of youth who are, transiting, right, in different stages of their life. But every suicide will impact between 15 to 30 people based on studies, right? You can see Alicia is still, grieving, but she's, I can share that she's coping well, recovering well. And what I want to say is that suicide exposed those who has experienced or encountered suicide with the family or loved ones. We call it a suicide exposed individual. They are actually twice as likely as those unexposed individuals to have or to be diagnosed with depression, and almost twice as likely to be diagnosed with anxiety or with suicide ideation. That's why the Postvention to support suicide survival is also very important. And we can come to, in SOS, actually we play an active role, I mentioned earlier, in supporting suicide survivor through our Healing Bridge and our Healing Within programs. And thanks to Pastor Seng Lee, we 2 years ago started this Healing Grace, which had a spiritual element in it, and we are appealing to Pastor again to come forward, and we can train you, right, to equip you with that skills. Anyway, if we can all come together and widen the safety nets, creating a more caring community, I think, and I'm quite sure, we can provide a lot more suicide. Okay, next section, quickly. I'll try to sum up quickly. How can churches as a community strengthen its mental health support? I we don't have a study in Singapore, unfortunately, but this is what I can find. A study by researcher at Baylor University in USA back in 2014. It found that, and actually this study is with 94 youth and college pastors from churches across Texas, right? And they found that youth and college pastors are actively engaged and with adolescents on mental health issues, though they may not feel adequately qualified to deal with such cases. Right? And they also reported that there is a willingness to collaborate with mental health professionals to better help the youth. But there was a lack of connection between religious and psychiatric communities. And I think this is what we are trying to do at this platform, this conference platform. In the same study, it is also reported that 94% of the youth pastor has worked with someone experiencing with mental illness, but 50% of them reported only 50% of them reported having some training related to mental health. And 26% of them felt qualified to work with youth dealing with mental health issues. But I think this is not important, right? This is not important. Why? Why did I say that? And that is the conclusion of the studies by Professor Matthew, right? He said, they don't need to train pastors to be junior psychologists or anything like that, right? But pastors should be equipped to recognize mental distress and how to make proper referral. I think that's a very strong and appropriate statement. Okay? So, how can churches address youth mental health? I'm just sharing 4 points. One is be equipped through seminars, talk, training, so that we are able to identify early signs, right, of mental health issue and how to support them. Coming to Christian Mental Health Conference is a good platform to start with, right? And the second one is be ready with resources and referrals. I think that's very important. Connect with communities, resources, and referrals so that so that when you support youth, they can get necessary support or early intervention. There are booths set up by various mental health agencies and professionals downstairs that at the main hall, right, HQ, right, Hallelujah quarters. Please visit them and find out, how we collectively can support you, and your ministry. And the third one is continue to make church a safe space for youth. I think that's very important. A space without fear of being judged or ill-treated. A physical and not virtual space, because a lot of you now try to isolate themselves on the virtual environment. Let's try to bring them back, and create that kind of environment, a safe space for them to interact physically, and so that they can connect with one another and create their own network of support. And fourth is to continue to help build healthy habits, right? I think churches is a great place to encourage and to help youth identify and develop healthy habits through Bible study, through fellowship, activities. And I think it's a space where they can relate to when they need support, right? I think it's important to help them build that relationship, which is a presenting issue, if you remember, among youth that we observe in SOS. And relationship among trusted friends, and more importantly, I think relationship with our Savior. Jesus is our living hope. Remember the song that we sang yesterday morning? I think it's very important to help them build that network of support. And these are the things that I think we as adults can help the youth in this area. Okay, the last part quickly. What are those collaboration opportunities with SOS? These are a few areas that I mentioned. But one of the things is Be a Samaritan program. This is a very simple 3 hours program, 1 hour on online, 2 hours workshop, right? It's to teach you how to identify people with distress, and how do you engage them, and how do you refer them to the right resources. Very simple program. The second one is Light in the Dark. If you know someone who have attempted suicide and is still not getting out of it, talk to us, refer to us. We do runs, like I said, we are now open for the 4th run. So if you know someone, you may refer to us. But we will assess them also. If we find that they are high risk, we will do one-to-one intervention first before we put them into the support group. And this is the one that I'm appealing to all pastors and church leaders. It's a Christian-based, structured 6-session support group program. This is to support survivor of suicide, which is someone who may have lost their loved one through suicide. So we are more than happy to train you, so that we can equip your church or your communities. And the other Postvention collaboration that we can do is to look at healing companions. If you know anyone who are interested to be a volunteer in SOS, to journey with someone, in the journey of recovery, talk to us. Right? We can also explore how to equip you so that you can be a resource to support people journey through, their challenges. And yeah, thank you. I think I on the dot.
Thank you, Gasper.
Thank you.
I know that there are a lot of statistics and a lot of numbers, but I think beyond all these numbers, it represents a life. Every one life lost is one life too many. And I'm just thankful to the work of SOS, because they are out there at the front line saving lives literally. And I just want to encourage us, if some of you are led, you can please go and visit them and get yourself equipped.